Hello Internet, Seth Skorkowski, and welcome to part 7 of our review/overview for the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Today's episode we're going to discuss Sanity. The Sanity rules are one of the most distinct parts of the role-playing game and often the most misunderstood. One of the major themes of H.P. Lovecraft's stories was madness. The heroes of his tales usually survived, but were left mentally and emotionally broken afterwards. It's no coincidence that the asylum in the Batman universe is called Arkham Asylum. As the player characters in the game, learn the secret truths of this world, and they experience the mind-bending horrors and the emotional trauma that comes with all of that, their sanity begins to break. In game terms, this is expressed through sanity points. It's best to imagine them as mental and emotional hit points. Our character Jack Malone, that we made in episode 2, will begin the game with 52 sanity points. During the course of the adventure, that score is going to go up and down depending on what he encounters and what he decides to do about it. But the maximum sanity that he can ever have is 99. That maximum sanity is going to go down as his Cthulhu Mythos skill goes up. For every 1 point of Mythos skill, deducts 1 point from his 99 maximum sanity. So if his Cthulhu Mythos was to go up to, let's say, a 5, then his sanity of 99 maximum is going to drop to a maximum of 94. We're going to explore further into the Mythos skill in another video, but just for the purpose of this video, I wanted to touch on that. Just remember that the Cthulhu Mythos skill reduces the character's maximum sanity stat. On the other side of the sanity spectrum, if we go all the way down to 0, the character then goes permanently and incurably insane and is no longer playable.
Meaning you're essentially dead, which makes you an NPC. Best case scenario is your friends visit you in the asylum from time to time. Worst case scenario, you become a villain that your next PC has to hunt down and kill.
However, your character is likely going to be insane long before they reach permanent insanity. In game terms, insanity comes in 3 different flavors: temporary insanity, indefinite insanity, and finally permanent insanity. Which type of insanity your character is suffering from depends on how much sanity points you've lost and how quickly you lost them. Sanity is lost through emotional trauma and encountering alien creatures. Here's an example of what can cause it. Whenever a PC encounters these things, they just roll percentage dice against their current sanity. Jack Malone's case, that's a 52. If we roll our sanity or lower, then we made the save. Congratulations! If we roll above the sanity score, we fail the save. There are no bonus or penalty dice that happen for sanity checks, nor can the player use luck to adjust the roll. It is just a single straight roll. You'll notice that the sanity loss in these examples, there are 2 figures that are separated by a slash, such as surprised to find a corpse is 0/1d3. The number to the left is the sanity loss if you make the save, 0, and to the right is the loss that you have if you miss the save, 1d3. Depending on the situation, sanity loss can still occur even if the character makes their save for their sanity, such as meeting someone that you know to be dead is still going to cost you 1 point even if you make your sanity roll. If a player fumbles their sanity check, they lose the maximum sanity possible. Also, if the investigator encounters multiple entities that cause sanity loss, such as encountering 3 ghouls, the sanity loss is still 1d6. It's for the encounter itself, not for the number of horrors encountered. There is an optional rule in the book that the PCs should roll multiple times, once for every entity encountered, and then go by the highest one rolled. So if you encounter 3 ghouls, you roll sanity loss 3 times, you go with the highest roll. I just don't do that for the sake of keeping the game running quickly, but that is an optional out there if some keepers want to use it. At any time that a character loses a point of sanity, just a single point, they still are going to react. They might drop whatever they're holding, they might cry out, they might freeze in terror, or some other involuntary action as determined by the keeper. Once again, determined by the keeper. Now, if an investigator loses 5 or more sanity points in a single instance, then they must make an intelligence check. If they roll their intelligence or lower, i.e. making the check, then they understand the horrors that they've encountered and are driven temporarily insane.
Which means that smart characters are more likely to go insane than dumb characters. Who said that being an idiot isn't without at least a few benefits?
Temporary insanity lasts 1 die 10 hours, which, depending on what's going on in the adventure at the time, might be for the duration of the game. Indefinite insanity occurs when a character loses 20% or 1/5 of their sanity in a single day, and a day being defined by the keeper, meaning that it could be longer or shorter than just an actual day. It requires that the PCs find a safe place and that they rest, and that is what makes the end of a day. What I do is that I tell my players to mark their sanity trackers at the 20% or the 1/5 mark. They do this at the beginning of each adventure. Now that is their threshold for when they're going to become indefinitely insane. So it doesn't require any big occurrence to actually drive them indefinitely insane like it does for temporary insanity. It can be just done by a simple, steady, slow loss over a short period of time, such as a single day. There's also no intelligence check to try to stop it once they've crossed that line. Once they've crossed that line, they are going to be insane. Indefinite insanity lasts as long as the keeper determines. It could last until the next investigator development phase, or it could last longer, requiring months and months of treatment in order to cure it. Regardless of which type of insanity your character has, insanity comes in 2 stages. The first is a short bout of madness, followed by underlying insanity that lasts for the duration of whichever insanity it is they have. A bout of madness means that the investigator temporarily loses control. If the character is in the company of others, it lasts for 1 die 10 rounds. If they're alone, or if everyone around them is also suffering a bout of madness, it will last for 1 die 10 hours. For this, we get a couple of charts. Keepers can roll or choose anything on there that they like. They might start screaming their heads off, or they might run away, or any other number of exciting things. Personally, for my own games, and because I trust my players' role-playing ability, I tell the players how their bout of madness manifests, and if it's possible to role-play it, I trust that they're going to role-play that. The only problem with this chart is that there's only 10 options. It doesn't take too long, even in a single session, for you to go through all of the options that are on there, and you end up with a lot of repeats. I really would have preferred it if they had given us a chart with 20 options on it instead. However, being such a well-loved game and little internet searching is going to yield a few alternate tables that you could try out. So keepers, you can mix it up a little bit. There's also insanity dice that New Comet Games makes. I snagged mine off of a Kickstarter some years ago, and they can be fun to occasionally, hand to a player and make them roll their own sanity loss for it. It's just something that I don't use all the time, but I like to mix it up from time to time and keep the players on their toes with something fresh. Now, if the player character is alone or everyone around them is suffering a bout of madness, we use this chart. This is a bit different in that it's a summary of the bout of madness. Essentially, the player character comes to after 1 die 10 hours, completely unaware of what it is they might have been doing. This has led to some great moments of roleplay as, PC might wake up in a ditch covered in mud, missing one shoe, and suddenly finding out that they're several miles from where they started. Or they might come to on a train destined to find their most important person, and they have no idea where in the country they are right now until they hit the next station or until they ask someone.
Or just waking up in an asylum, wearing somebody else's clothes and booked in under their name.
You could center an entire gaming adventure just for the characters trying to piece together what their characters did over that 1 die 10 hours where they were going through a bout of madness. Now, aside from losing control, one other effect that a bout of madness has is that the keeper has the option to change one element on the character's backstory. Maybe a clean-cut character becomes disheveled, alcoholics become teetotalers, your most treasured possession becomes something completely different, your character finds or loses religion. It is all up to the keeper. Now, this is an area that gives the keeper a lot of power. They get to change the character's personality, and this can be great and a lot of fun for a lot of different reasons. But keepers, you shouldn't abuse this. I find that a slow alteration of a character's personality as they're repeatedly brushing up against the mythos and all the horrors make it much more effective than having it suddenly being a one-time, big, sudden, drastic change and now they're somebody completely different. Sure, it can be tempting to turn that greedy hoarder of a character into a selfless charity worker, But keepers, use your best judgment here. You don't have to make a change to their personality every single time they have a bout of madness, but you do have the option, and you should do it from time to time. Now, the only thing that you can't change this way is the character's key backstory connection. I noted that on this sheet with some asterisks in order to show what it is. Everything else is fair game for the keeper to mess with, but that one is off limits. Once the bout of madness is complete, the character then moves on to stage 2, which is underlying insanity. The player regains full control of their character, but their character is still insane, which does have its own consequences. First, further loss of sanity points, even a single point, will result in a new bout of madness. Next, while the character can act normally, any failed push rolls are going to have new and often hilarious consequences. The descriptions under each skill provide some suggested examples of what to do if an insane character fails a pushed roll. Third, any phobias or manias that the character has become more pronounced, incurring a penalty die when a character is trying to resist them. Normally, phobias and manias are simply role-played. If a character is claustrophobic, for example, they don't actually have any in-game effect if that character was then to step into an elevator when they're sane. But when they're insane, the same character would suffer a penalty die for that skill roll that's made while they're in that confined space. So normally it's just role-playing, but when they're insane, it has actual game consequences. Finally, we have delusions. Characters are going to see and hear things that aren't there. This could be seeing monsters where there aren't any, or imagining sounds coming from unlikely places. One of my favorites is the idea of a hallucinating an entire person. This could be their most significant person from their character sheet, or they could be an imaginary friend like in Fight Club, or a former enemy like Jessica Jones did in Season 2. Spoilers, by the way.
Holy crap, Captain Burnwood? What are you doing here? I've come to help you, Jack. I thought you were dead. Hardly. Now let's face this monster together. Okay, Captain Burnwood, you and me, together, side by side.
A character gets the opportunity to disbelieve any hallucination they have, and they can request what's called a reality check. This is simply another sanity roll. If successful, the delusions all stop until any more sanity points are lost. If the reality check fails, they then lose a point of sanity, cueing another bout of madness, because their belief in this hallucination is even reinforced, and now they really, really believe this is actually there. The MYTHOS. So we're going to be covering the MYTHOS rules in another video, like I said, but now we're going to touch on them again. One detail that I want to bring up here is that the first time a character goes insane from a MYTHOS encounter, their Cthulhu MYTHOS skill is going to go up by 5 points. After that, any new insanity that's caused by further MYTHOS encounters each add 1 point to the Cthulhu MYTHOS skill. Remember to drop your maximum sanity as the Cthulhu MYTHOS skill does go up. Recovery. Okay, so we've gone over all the fun things that happen to your sanity while it's going down. Let's talk about raising it back up again. First method is keeper awards. These are sanity points that are awarded back for completing a successful adventure. Among them is the destruction of MYTHOS creatures. Killing a MYTHOS monster rewards sanity back at the same amount that it was lost, such as encountering a ghoul costs 1d6 points, killing a ghoul rewards 1d6 points. Now it doesn't add up if you kill multiple ghouls, just like encountering multiple ghouls never costs you more than 6 total, but theoretically it is possible for your character to come across a ghoul, make their sanity save, not lose any sanity, and then kill that same ghoul and then gain 1d6 sanity for killing it. For whatever reason, many of the printed modules and adventures out there don't mention any sanity rewards for killing the monsters or killing all the monsters. Some do, some don't, so keepers, don't forget to reward your players for killing MYTHOS monsters. The next method of raising sanity is if the PC raises a skill to 90 or higher. It represents all the self-discipline and self-esteem that it earned them, but in game terms, it's 2d6 sanity earned once you get a skill above 90. The third method is psychotherapy, i.e. professional help. This can be done a few different ways, from expensive private care with live-in nurses and really good medication, to regular visits to your local shrink every couple days, to full-blown institutionalization, either at a private asylum or one of dubious reputation. Each of these has their own chances of helping, private care of course being the best. Also, psychotherapy is the only method that can cure indefinite insanity or remove a phobia or mania that the character might have gotten. With all of the rest, the character is merely raising their sanity points, which is good and that's nice, but it's still indefinitely insane and they're still going to be suffering any manias and phobias if they're not using psychotherapy. Now, each round of psychotherapy, no matter which method you're using, is going to take 1 full month to complete. So it could be several months between adventures before a character is recovered from the last one before they start their next one. Now, one issue that I do have with this section of psychotherapy is there are no prices listed. State institutions, of course, are going to be covered by the state, which are also going to be the quality of a free institution, but nothing helps you get a good idea of the price of what the cost of private care is. For my game, I set the cost of private care at $25 to $50 a week, depending on the quality. Now, these are numbers that I just arbitrarily made up one day because a player was asking me. I have no idea if this is close to accurate for the 1920s, and I have been unable to figure out what the actual prices should be. If anyone does know, please let me know in the comments. I would be really, really grateful. The fourth method of recovering sanity is self-help. This is done by incorporating a character's backstory. Amazing how much that keeps coming up, isn't it? Maybe they go on vacation with their most significant person, traveling to their most significant place. Maybe they go on a religious retreat for a time. It's up to the player to decide and then to describe to the keeper what they're doing for their self-help. Now, if that self-help incorporates the character's key backstory connection, the player gets a bonus die when determining if this is successful when they're rewarding sanity. Only the key backstory connection can do this, and failing a roll using the bonus die from the key connection loses the key connection's ability. Now, one complaint that I have with the sanity rules is self-medication, i.e. drugs and alcohol and their effects. People who have experienced trauma and other horrible experiences often turn to these things, and I would like some rules for them. You can find some rules in the old 6th edition Secrets of San Francisco guidebook, which is pretty cool, and I have used them. But I would like some more, and I think they should have been included somewhere in the Keeper's Guide. Getting used to awfulness, also known as maximum sanity loss. There's only so much that a creature of a particular type is going to affect a player character's sanity. Once again, going back to ghouls, they cause 1d6 sanity loss. Now, 6 is the most that a player character can lose from encountering ghouls. Once they've lost those 6 points, the PC can encounter ghouls all day long, and it's not going to hurt their sanity any more than it already has. Because of this, a player should note their sheet how much sanity that they have lost versus each individual creature that they've encountered. However, once they've entered the investigator development phase at the end of any adventure, that's where they're going to be increasing their skills and all that other stuff. They're going to reduce that maximum sanity that they lost from each creature by 1. So if Jack here encountered a ghoul and he lost 6, he'd note that. He can't lose any more, and he can encounter ghouls without any ill effects. But once he goes into the investigator development phase, that drops to 5, then 4, then 3, etc., etc. So ghouls are still going to affect him in any future adventures, and depending on how much time has passed between adventures is going to determine how much ghouls are going to start affecting him again. Next is insane insight. This is one of those areas that's a bit difficult to describe, but essentially, when a character goes insane, a keeper can opt to give them some sort of moment of clarity and a free clue about something, either an immediately useful clue or something that's going to be useful far in the future. It's almost as if they passed a free idea roll. These can be extremely helpful when the PCs are facing, some strange monster that can't be touched by physical weapons, or if the players missed some clue early on and now they're kind of struggling to catch up with what's going on and they haven't been able to put 2 and 2 together. An insane insight is going to cure that. The source of the insane insight doesn't even have to make sense. Like how they came up with this doesn't actually matter. They can even link clues that they haven't gotten yet. After all, it is insane. They can be really handy to use and get a game back on track or getting it moving forward or getting it off into a good direction. Mythos hardened. So as a character's sanity goes down, their Cthulhu Mythos skill goes up. There comes a magic point when their current sanity is actually going to be lower than what their Mythos skill is. This causes a huge shift where the character's understanding has grasped this awful truth. And from this moment forward, once their sanity has gotten lower than their Cthulhu Mythos, they only get half for any sanity losses going forward, rounding up. This is a permanent change, so even if their sanity recovers and then goes back above whatever their Cthulhu Mythos skill is, they still and forever will only suffer half loss on any sanity. Well, that is it for sanity rules. Hopefully it answered more questions than it caused. They're not too difficult, and one area that I still wrestle with a lot is remembering to incorporate delusions into the games. I'm always forgetting to do that. On the bright side, one benefit of me doing this entire series is that I now understand the rules a whole lot more. Next episode, we're going to be covering mythos and magic. We're going to try to get them both into one video. Hopefully we can. We're going to have to see once I start recording. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you want to see more of this series, or you want to see my other reviews and other videos, please hit the subscribe button. Until next time, gamers, you have a great day.
Crazy, I'm crazy for